A weekend in the country. The gathering of a family. The reunion of old friends.
Welcome. It's nice to see you.
But a joyous birthday is about to become something totally unexpected.
In 1995, the Danish filmmakers Thomas Vinterberg and Lars von Trier came together in a pact to create films that opposed the standards of the popular films of the day. They wanted to steer away from the artificiality of the sets, makeup, and the enormous amounts of expensive filming gear. Vinterberg and von Trier wanted to feel different kinds of constraints, the kind that makes you push your art further and discover a story through the entire process of filmmaking. Some of the rules were shooting must be done on location, props and sets must not be brought in, the sound must never be produced apart from the images, or vice versa. The camera must be handheld, any movement or immobility attainable in the hand is permitted. The Dogma 95 technique brings out the best in this production, the context being the family's countryside estate in Denmark during Helge Klingenfeld's 60th birthday, gave the means to the cast and crew to create a complex and realist film that could be considered as a home video of a dysfunctional family reunion. Festen depicts memory work within the family interrelations and the past that surrounds and obscures them. It is an amalgamation of their unresolved past and their intolerant family. Festen is the first film made under the Dogma 95 vow of chastity and was created by Thomas Vinterberg. In an interview with Vinterberg held by V-Pro Cinema in 2015, he said, "We used the smallest, shittiest 35mm camera we could find." He said that the handheld camera allowed for the cameraman to be part of the film with their arm. They are reacting and making decisions based on the scene and the emotions unfolding in front of them. In fact, the decision-making during the production was collaborative with the actors. The actors studied their characters for many months with Vinterberg leading up to the film. Vinterberg said he had the biggest stars in Denmark ironing their own shirts during the weeks of production, as well as the actors doing their own makeup. Dogma 95 was created in opposition to the expensive film productions that were being released in the 90s, and found that they were depending much too heavily on the effects. Technical manipulation takes the viewer further out of the film, as there is a separation between reality and fiction. The filmmaker's task with Dogma 95 is to give access to the world they're creating, whilst trying to force the truth out of the characters and setting. Vinterberg also said that the actors took over the set completely and the crews were guests. Due to this freedom, the actors felt free to decide how their character would talk and react to the events happening around them. Indeed, there are very familiar archetypes within the range of actors. They replicate a family, and one cannot help but identify their own family members within the setting. With memory, everyone remembers events differently, just as Nina Mikwitz discusses that any shared event or memory within a family will be remembered and experienced in different, discordant ways. This aspect is important as there are many different points of view towards the speech that Christian delivers. Through the characters of his remaining siblings, it's evident that they don't know everything, and it's clear that they all have their own past trauma that is due to the family they were raised by. The realism that sets the film's foundation would have to be the individual characters that are clearly the products of their family, as well as the family setting being extremely resonant for many. The opening scene shows a stretch of prairie road and Christian, Helge's son, and the twin brother of Linda, who they recently lost to suicide, walking down to his family's estate with a briefcase and suit on. Christian walking a long stretch to get to the estate without being in communication with any family members to carpool with sets the base for his character. He's already portrayed as a recluse, not bothering to ask anyone to pick him up from the station. He also happens to be the son who makes a speech at the celebration to reveal that Helge used to sexually abuse him and his dead sister Linda, and blaming him with reason for her death. After this key scene, there is an uneasiness throughout the estate. There are uncomfortable family members who, moments after Christian's reveal, stick their noses back into their soups trying to figure out if it's lobster or tomato soup. There is a prominent presence of ignorance and disdain towards Christian's unpleasant speech. Helge speaks to Christian afterwards and states that, of course, he's making his way off, without saying anything about the speech. The dismissal that happens constantly between characters is very representative of a larger issue. They are the victims of the family construct. They are soon confronted by their ignorance once the housemaids steal everyone's car keys from their rooms, and they're forced to stay overnight. A perfect archetype for the son of a rich, dismissive man would be a man-child misogynist who has no filter and no respect for other individuals. Micheal, Christian and Helen's brother, drives up to Christian on that long prairie road with his wife and kids in the car. Once next to Christian, he jumps out the car and jumps on his brother and says, "I could fuck you," a line that speaks of the treatment of sexuality in their family. Micheal kicks his wife and kids out of the car and gives his brother a ride. He arrives to the estate and wasn't even on the list because of trouble he caused the year before. He is a mess. When his brother delivers his speech at the banquet, he is appalled and thinks Christian is crazy. He seems to have no grounds for morals other than his ego. Helen is a perfect example of a grown-up woman who attends her family's event out of duty and wanting to be a good girl to her parents. But she does it on her terms. She is seen in the back of a taxi smoking on a joint to calm her nerves and telling the taxi driver to go faster than the other cars because those are her guests. She should be arriving before them. She wants to stay true to herself. She even invites her black boyfriend, Bakatai, who Micheal sees arriving and insists that they don't need a trumpet player. Many racist advances are made towards him throughout the film, including Helen's mother saying she barely could differentiate him from the last guy Helen brought. They also sing a very racist Danish children's song about monkeys at the dinner table. Helen also doesn't mind using Linda's old room, her big sister who committed suicide. She knows her sister well and looks all over the room and bathroom for a hidden message. All of this speaks of the structure of the family that these adults are products of. Festen was the first Dogma 95 film to be made, and was praised for many of its qualities. Its handling of the subject touched many audiences across the world, as these taboo subjects had not been handled on a mainstream movie front yet, especially not the confrontational level that Festen permeates. As these characters deal with the environment they were adamant to place themselves in, they come to terms with horrors and truths, much of which happens in every contemporary family. There are betrayals and injustices that the Klingenfeld children have to confront. The ridiculousness of the family adds an aspect of comedy to the film that Vinterberg noticed makes the American audiences laugh, but the European audiences tended to stay silent. The Dogma 95 filming style gives an almost familiar feeling to the environment. The duration of the time spent with the family, which is overnight, feels intimate as the night gets more quiet but reveals more. The film expresses the trauma of these adults by recalling the past and confronting the present.